Hi, and welcome to today's episode of Women's Health Unwrapped. I'm excited to chat with my guest, Charlotte Carter, today, who is a high performance coach and energy mentor, advocating that life is meant to feel good. In fact, as she says, it's meant to feel truly epic, where you cannot wait to see how the day unfolds. But I know from lots of people who I've worked with, that's not the way they feel when they open their eyes or get their mind going on a morning. Charlotte discovered through her personal journey the pivotal role of health in making this your reality. So she's joined me in this conversation today to help you use your unique energy to positively impact your health and happiness. So welcome to the podcast, Charlotte.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to see where we go with this conversation.
Yeah, me too. Charlotte and I were chatting a little bit before we hit record, and I've seen Charlotte in different capacities with the work that she does. I was a regular in a group where she supported us with the Monday motivation live each week, and I always took so much from what you're saying. I remember taking lots of notes every time on a Monday morning to get my energy into the right place when I was a new entrepreneur. But just to kick off our conversation, I'd love to know from you right now what your most impactful healthy habit is in your toolkit.
Oh, great question. I love that. Most impactful healthy habit. Space. Creating space.
Oh,
Because from space you can then understand yourself, you can see what's holding you back, you can create different habits that you can bring in. But if you haven't got any space, if you're in that like being busy mode, should I say, then you don't know where to start, or you don't know where to turn, and everything feels overwhelming. So definitely my first step is always, how can you create some space? 1 minute, 2 minute, 5 minute, 10 minute, like that. And then within the space, what's the best thing that you can do?
and so it literally looks like that for you, just a small amount of time where you can take that pause. Are you doing some kind of breath work and just getting really present?
So the first default that I would say to people is 90 seconds, focus on your heart. 90 seconds heart coherence, bring you back into the present, back into your body, back into who you are, to basically shut out everything else that's going on. And from that, you get clarity of thought, of presence, you get clarity of your mood. What's frustrating you? Is it you frustrating you, which I think what happens with sometimes, or is it everything else? And I think from that 90 seconds, you can then step into the next part of your day.
Yeah, brilliant. And this is what I'm all about, helping people create those impactful habits with small steps. So 90 seconds for many of us that are super busy and haven't been giving ourselves that space, that's so achievable, even if you have to pop a reminder in your phone to help you do it. But yeah, taking 90 seconds out. And for me, that's definitely been a huge learning since I left corporate 4 years ago and came into this space and really started on or accelerated my personal health and development transformation, because I wasn't someone who took that space. As you said, I was stuck in doing and going and thinking that was the right way to do things, especially as a woman. So I'm sure we'll unwrap some of that as we chat. So I'd love to start with energy itself, because I think when we use that word, it can often just feel very black and white. Like I either have energy or I don't. And it's a thing you have, like I'm awake, I'm not tired, so I have energy, or I'm tired, I haven't got energy. So I'd love for you to guide us a little deeper into what energy really means, certainly in the way that you talk about it.
Of course, yes. So most people will identify with times in their life where they've gone into a room and they've been able to sense the energy of the room. So either something's felt off or something's felt really good and they're like, I really like this space. Or they've gone to somebody and they felt this isn't going to quite match with me. I'm not going to quite connect it, but they can't quite put the finger on it. That's the kind of energy that I'm talking about. I'm talking about when your intuition leads and you're not necessarily sure on what that is. And so we have those tools within ourselves where we can harness our physical energy and go, hey, do you know what? I feel really on fire. I'm really pumped. I'm ready to go. That's your physical energy. You also have your mental energy, which is like, okay, what thoughts are going on in my head? Where's fear creeping in? What stories and beliefs are running the show? And then you have your emotional state, your emotional energy, where you're like, hey, do you know what? absolutely buzzing or I'm absolutely frustrated as anything. And that's another guidance system. And then you have what's known as your spiritual health or something outside of yourself, which is like the energetics of life, which are the other things that like, hey, do you know what? Maybe I should just tune in a little bit and see what else is going on in this area of my life and I'll be able to get some guidance. So really energy is so holistic. I think for your listeners who are in this space of understanding their health, they will start to notice where, if you were to look at those 4 areas of your life, where you feel you are in your physical health. More often than not, people will know if they feel energized, whether they feel sleep deprived, whether they're not eating as well as they could, or whether they're not resting as well as they could. People kind of can get an idea on their physical health and tweak it and refine it. But when we get into the mental and emotional and spiritual, that's where all of the magic happens, really. And that's where you can harness more, but you always have to really get your physical health on point to be able to access the other parts.
So I'd love to explore that a little bit with you in your own journey to where you are now, because I know a bit about your background. You worked in mental health for a long time, didn't you? And you've really shifted things to prioritise health and have the energy that you now have to run the business you do. So yeah, if you could share a bit about how that's all come together for yourself, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. So, as a young girl, I had like loads and loads of energy. Maybe some of your listeners will identify with this, like bouncing around, may have the thread of feeling like they're too much, being told to be quiet, get back in your box type thing. That was kind of like my upbringing. And so I fell into the trap very much of being a people pleaser for a lot of my life and squashing my energy. And like Nicola said, I spent 20 years in mental health, working with people from abusive backgrounds, within that got themselves caught in the criminal justice system. And it was at that moment that I had what I would call my first awakening, or my first like reality check on life, thinking, hey, do you know what? I thought I'd made it by helping these people, but actually it's draining my energy and it's draining my way of being, because you're not able to be like all full of joy and happiness when you're working with very serious topics. So that was the pivotal switch for me. I realized, and I went deep down into what I would call the depths of personal growth, first of all, to release the people pleasing, to understand that I am enough exactly as I am. I don't need more qualifications. I don't need more of things that I was seeking outside of myself. And that's when I came to the place of actually, you can have it all, and you can have it all at a pace and a space and a way that feels good for you. But to be able to do that, you have to understand yourself. So I started the business very much looking at high performance and mindset. And that's when Nicola and I were in each other's worlds very much. And it was all about your belief system. It's all about get yourself revved up, let's go. And that is absolutely a part of the work. And everybody has the ability to change their beliefs in a moment. But that's only one aspect. And what I was finding was people were doing that work, but actually they were letting all the other areas of their life fall by the way, because they were hoping that their mind was going to carry them through. And I think a lot of high performers in particular get stuck in this busy being busy pattern, and that affects their health, that they feel that they've got to be on all the time. They feel that they've got to be consistently working on themselves. And actually, once I realised that when you pause and step back, then that's when you open up to way more healthy habits and way of being. And I can talk more about that.
Yeah. And you've touched on this a couple of times with regard to people living these really full and busy lives. And certainly, as I said with myself, I thought that was the way we had to do it, and also the way that you achieved success and happiness. And actually, that's the complete opposite of finding true success, which is that feeling of fulfillment. And as I said in the introduction, having that energy to want to get out of bed on a morning and to go about your life in a way that is filling you up in the way you need. And it's just incredible, but also quite sad and frustrating when we work with people like this, how many of us, and in particular obviously women as we're talking about today, are stuck in that way of being, just being switched on and kind of hyper doing all of the time and wanting to get energy, but doing the exact opposite of creating that.
It's really interesting because as high achievers, we're we're fueled by achieving, and there's no way of getting away from that. We're driven, we want to create big impact, and that's definitely something to celebrate. But it's like flipping the switch on what achievement really is. So the ultimate achievement that I take people with, and I'm sure Nicola does too, is this inner peace, inner satisfaction, and inner joy, whilst you're still creating this external impact, whether that's helping more people, making more cash, reaching more souls, whatever it might be for you. It all starts within. And I think for the achiever, it's all faced outside. More promotions in the workplace, more connection with people. Actually, when you flip it and really look inside, you start to realize that you're the one that's holding yourself back. You're the one that's so busy doing these other things that actually you're sabotaging the way that you can really grow. And I talk about stopping and relaxing being really fit is full of fear with the people that are high achievers, because they're like, if I stop, it's going to all stop, or if I don't do these things, they're just not going to get done. And actually, when you can embrace that and go, do you know what, I'm going to stop these things and I'm going to create some space for myself where I can realize that actually I deserve space, I deserve things to be easier, I deserve to not be doing all the things that other people can help me with, and I deserve to receive support. Then you're able to move through a space that really gives you more of this happiness and pleasure. And I talk about presence, being present in the moment, as well as being present with your dreams and your desires. And so many people are stuck in this little bit of like their dreams and their desires are right out there. They're there fueling them, but they're not actually able to be present in the moment because their mind's still on overdrive.
Yeah, and when I think about this in the context of midlife women I'm working with and professional women whose career matters to them, whether it's through their own business or being an employee, they find it really challenging to have that opportunity to be clear about what to do next. You know, they come to me often after hitting a rock bottom and realizing that it simply just can't go on the way it has been. It's, you know, at the end of the road, so to speak. And that's forced them to have to do something, but we don't want everyone to have to reach that point. And when you are feeling all of those struggles, it can be really hard to see a way forward to start to create, shift new habits, and then energy on the back of that. And it's all linked, because energy will then create desire and momentum, and in itself help you to make things happen, you know, with more ease. So how would you suggest going about, like, stepping away from, perhaps, like, if you imagine it as a tornado, that spiral that you're caught in, how can you get that initial, you know, opportunity to start to think about what the future might look like?
So everything that you've just described is is wrapped up in identity, really. And so the women that may come to you at that space, their identity might be very much shaped by that role as the employer or the entrepreneur, and their work very much part of their identity. What I always advise people is allow yourself some space to think about, do you know what, if you had a clean script and a clean day, and you could really draw out and design your own identity, what would you actually be doing? Just give yourself 15 minutes. What would you be doing? Would you be going to the gym? Would you be creating space? Would you be going to bed earlier? Would you be doing the job you'd be doing? Or would you be doing something completely different? And just roll with it. Don't get freaked out with what comes up. Just roll with it. And what will happen in that space energetically is that you will start to go, oh, do you know what? That was something that I really wanted to do and I've not done. And do you know what? This is something that I've just settled for and it's not serving me whatsoever. Or these relationships, these connections, these friends, they just drain me. They don't lift me up. They drain me on every which way. So it gives you a bit of a snapshot of where you're being drained and where you're being absolutely energized. And what happens in that small exercise is you get to see your life from a different lens. I call it the eagle's view. So you're seeing yourself and playing out a role that you've not yet stepped into. And what you're able to do from that space is you're able to go, do you know what? I'd like more of this, more of this, more of this, and I'd like less of these things. And I always say tiny moments of joy. Bring in tiny moments of joy. How can you, from that exercise, think, okay, what could be one moment of joy that I know I could be really present in? Can I give myself 10 minutes sitting in the garden? Can I give myself a walk without anybody, without the dog? Can I just go and do something purely for myself? And what will happen is as you create this space that I'm really passionate about, you start to open up and connect into, actually, this is what I can do. This is what brings me happiness. And I'd lost sight of it. And I know for many people that I've spoken to, that I've worked with all over the world, this happiness is a real piece to define and decide for yourself, because it's a continual state that changes. And so people that may be stuck, like Nicola says, they might go as a default to things that used to bring them happiness 5, 10, 15 years ago, and then they go and do it, and then they're like, oh, it's not working now, because they've changed and they've evolved. And so that knocks them and they go back into their, hiding again. Whereas if you think, actually, what would I really love to, what would be something really good that I would love to do that I know is going to bring me happiness? And it can be connecting with an old friend. It can be creating something. I talk about absolutely losing yourself. So doing a puzzle or something like that, something that's totally off script that you wouldn't normally do, allow yourself to do that. And that creates an energetic up levels and changes. Like, you know what? I love this. Why aren't I doing it more? And one of the great ideas that I say to people that they always like is, what are the things that you love to do on holiday? And why aren't you doing them now? Why do you save them up for holiday? I had a client say to me, oh, I always read on holiday, but I don't read normally. I'm like, oh, why not? Well, it's just something I save for holiday. I'm like, but do you like it? Yeah, I really like it. Well, why don't you do 10 minutes a day then? Because you could have that micro moment every single day. And it's tuning into what your happiness is. And I think for women, with all the emotions and all the hormones and all the life changes, there's this identity piece where they've got lost. And so there's a real rediscovering of yourself and a remembering and a shining the light on your brilliance of who you really are and what you're here to do.
Yeah, I love that. And with what I'm specializing in, midlife, hormonal menopause stage of life, many women, because their hormones are shifting, reach this crossroads where they feel like, this isn't where I'm meant to be. I don't know how I got here, whether that's with career, partner, family, themselves, friendships, even their likes and dislikes. As you said, we fall into this way of life and things we think are supposed to make us happy. And I think for many women that you hear about who are struggling with menopause, they're so bogged down with the symptoms. But for those that are able to also go, actually, the reason I don't feel good is because there's other stuff. It's not just about perhaps the physical or psychological direct impact of symptoms. It's that this is changing me, and I'm not sure where I want to go next. And certainly in my story, that crossroads came at 45 when I was made redundant, and then embarked on this whole new journey and shift in my own health. And I can see that's such an incredible opportunity for us to embrace. Yes, menopause can be challenging, but obviously the healthier you are leading up to that and prioritizing your health in that, the more you can manage symptoms and even eradicate them. So one of the conundrums that we obviously hear a lot of people saying, well, I haven't got time to, whether it's eat healthier, exercise, rest, think about what I want because I'm so busy. But they also want energy, and think, well, I need energy to do that stuff. But do you feel like doing that stuff is going to give you the energy, and vice versa, that it is this like two-way interlinked relationship?
So what I always say with people, if they're in that situation of like, Charlotte, I love what you're talking about. It'd be great if I could do all these things, but I haven't got time. Then I really invite you to think about your values. So where are you valuing yourself in your life? What are the pieces that you are valuing over your own health or your own happiness or your own pleasure or purpose or desires? Because we know everybody's got a finite time of things to do, but we also know loads of people lose hours scrolling on their phone. So it's about being able to be really clear on what are you valuing. And this is ultimately an inner value piece. If you're struggling to make time for stuff, it's around your self-worth. And so the piece is around understanding that actually you're worthy of everything you desire in multiple ways. And once you start doing that, you'll value some of the activities that you know are going to bring you joy, and you'll do more of them. And what happens in terms of positive psychology and the ripple effect is that the more you do it, the more you're likely to want to do more. That's how it works. It's a compounding effect. And so before you know it, within 30 days, you're in a completely different place. And then you're getting way more clarity. Now, what happens when you value yourself is that you value your energy. You value where you're giving it, where you're sharing it, and where it's being drained. And you also value opportunities and doors to a whole different way of being. And so everything sort of slots into place, but it starts with valuing yourself first.
You mentioned something there, which I was asked about this when I was running a corporate workshop a while ago. And we'd had a break. I was running one in the morning, one in the afternoon. I stayed with some of the team for lunch. And some of the ladies were really interested in what we'd been talking about. And one of them said, but is it not just really hard work to like stay being healthy? Because there is this perception that being healthy means restriction and denial and deprivation, because a lot of women associate health purely with what you eat and dieting and having to go to the gym and so on. And I'd never really thought about it in that way until I was asked the question. And then I did a whole podcast episode just talking about this myself, because I said to her, actually, no, it's much easier, because as you said, that compound effect happens very naturally and quickly as well. You know, if anyone has ever, for example, maybe you did dry January or ditched the sugar 1 month or something like that, and you do feel quite quickly those positive effects from that small change, you want more of that. And so I was explaining this, and it was really fascinating seeing it from their angle of, well, it must be just really hard to be that strict with yourself and do this stuff all of the time. It's like, actually, no, because it becomes a part of who you are. And I feel better because of that. And this week I've had a head cold and I haven't been able to do some of the things I would normally do, especially around movement. And I don't feel like me because of the cold, but also because I haven't been doing that stuff. And I love how that stuff does make me feel. And so with you in your journey, Charlotte, like, how important is it for you to have those healthy habits ingrained in the way that you build your lifestyle and routines?
So I love that. And I love that perspective. There's like about 87% of the UK population are designed to match the work hard, play hard, the struggle piece. So first of all, the mindset is about understanding that no matter what change you're having, whether it's a healthy one, it's really embodying health. So rather you seeing it as something external to yourself, like something that you're going to do. I'm going to do that run. I'm going to do that healthy eating. I'm going to do that cutting down on the booze. I'm going to do that creating space away from my phone. It's actually something that you become and that you very much be. And it's just part of your life, like getting up, getting dressed, doing your teeth. It just ends up being part of your identity. And so that's when it becomes so much easier. For me, it is very, very important when I talk about energy. I'm an energy healer, so I heal people with my words. So everybody listening will have healing. I have healing energy that's called zest. And that's about really understanding this connection with time and understanding that actually the more present you can be in your life, the healthier you will feel. So people, for example, women will be drawn to do more of the weightlifting because it's better for women at this age as they move through menopause. It's better to not go running all the miles in the world and to do more of the strength training. When you're in your body like that and you're very connected like that, you're very present, especially if you're lifting something heavy. You're very much in the moment in that space. And this is the habits that I build. So whether it's in stillness, whether it's in movement, whether it's in the space of, do you know what, I'm just going to be in this space and see what happens. There's all of those ways that you can really biohack your life to allow you to build these habits. So I would definitely say create some time to meditate, create some time to journal your thoughts, create some time for excitement and pleasure, create some time for your magical moments of joy. But ultimately, lead yourself with this notion of present. If tomorrow wasn't guaranteed, what would I love to do today? How would I show up? How would I lead? What are the things that are really important to me? And that's how you start to increase and value yourself and your time, and you're more likely to do the things that you might have been putting off.
I love that. And that's just so powerful in so many ways, because I think we do rush through life, as we're saying, and life is fragile. You know, we saw that certainly in the pandemic and everything that unfolded there. And I think because we are so busy, we're often forgetting that side of things, and that is the reality. And I think, as you said, this is about taking just those small opportunities to help yourself feel less stressed now, but also prevent stress. And obviously we see such high burnout rates amongst women. That's grown since the pandemic, along with other mental health challenges. And we know in midlife there are lots of stats around the amount of women struggling with mental health in lots of different ways and so on. So being present is such, and I've learned this and I'm working on this as a set of habits for myself, because it's definitely an area that I struggle with more than other pillars of well-being. But I think, yeah, it's something that we all need to appreciate more to help guide us towards having better energy.
It's around for me, it's around the rest and restoration. So I do a lot of work with people on their nervous system. So many high achievers and women of a certain age are like fueled by adrenaline on some level, and it fueled by achieving. And actually, once we start looking at how your nervous system is impacted and start allowing you to get more used to this restorative way that your nervous system can be and being present, it allows you to unlock so much more. It allows you to really enjoy and embrace life and very much embody being in the moment and notice those things that you wouldn't normally notice. Notice things with your family, connections with your partner, whatever they may be. There's a depth and a richness that you get that you've just been surface receiving. And that was my journey. My journey was very much as a surface level happy until I was 45. Life was good. I don't look back and think I didn't have a great life, but there wasn't a depth or a richness that I experience now. And I only got that when I actually stopped and looked within and create these habits of, do you know what? I don't have to be on the go all the time. Do you know what? I can actually allow my energy and my enthusiasm and my zest for life to share and shine with people. And when you understand that for yourself, your true personality comes out, and then you feel happier anyway, because you're not hiding, you're not wearing any masks or anything like that. So you end up blossoming and flourishing. And when that happens, other people pick up on it. They're like, you seem really happy and joyful. And so it's just a beautiful ripple effect of the work that you do on yourself, and it shares out with the world. And I just love that for people.
Mm. Yeah, me too. And one of the reasons I always used to enjoy Charlotte's lives were because everything you say, like you say now, I'm just nodding along and inside like grinning, because that was exactly me. I did struggle with my mental health, and I wouldn't have really described myself as happy. I was living an okay life. I was very happy with my daughter and I loved being a mom and so on. But I was playing a role in lots of different ways. And it was only when I was forced into the space through redundancy, but having realised, because of the pandemic and the struggles that I'd had with my own health, and on the back of losing my mum as well, that life couldn't continue as it was. And, I then needed to do something to start to unwrap what that looked like for me. And as you said, when you get clear because you've given yourself that space, it's scary initially, because I'd never allowed myself to dream or think about anything other than I just need this paycheck this month, that kind of approach, which I think for a lot of us is reality. So just before we wrap up, I want to ask Charlotte about these medals that she has hanging behind her. So if you're listening, she has a beautifully coloured rainbow of medals hanging down from a rack behind her. So yeah, share a little bit about where you've got those from, because I think this very much links to your health and well-being, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. This is definitely something for people to think about if they're in this space. So my medals are from obstacle course races, half marathons, all sorts of things like that, because my greatest pleasure as a child was always exercise, and that's how I navigated a lot of the stress in my life. I just went all in on the exercise. And I think what happened is I got to a place where it's like, you don't have to keep achieving on the exercise. It's about just taking in the moment. So that's when I moved to the obstacle courses. If anybody's ever done any, the latest thing I did was high rocks, but if anybody's ever done anything like that, believe me, you're very present. You are very in the moment. You're in the experience, and there's training and there's routines and there's habits to get you there. But what's happened for me is that's something that complements the work that I do. So since I allowed myself to bring that into the business, I'm a personal trainer as well as the other things that I do. I've got people that are working on all aspects of their health. And I talk about movement being so pivotal, but it doesn't have to be all of the medals that I like to achieve, but it's more about what's that movement piece for you and how can you fit that in. It could be dancing in your kitchen. It can be absolutely anything. I never call it exercise. I just call it movement so that you're getting yourself feeling good, feeling alive and feeling this zest within yourself. And from that, anything's possible because energy loves to move. Emotions are just energy in motion. So whatever state you're in, move yourself and you will get yourself to, do you know what? I can do this vibe.
Yeah, 100%. And I call it movement too. I talk about this a lot. I've just got a podcast out in the week. We're recording this all about how movement was medicine. For me, it really did become the catalyst for helping to improve my mental health and, that shift that I know many women need to make away from diet culture and obsessing over their size and shape to being strong mentally and physically, as you say, in whatever way that looks for you. And I always say when, you're in the gym or for me, the garage with the dumbbells, not necessarily really heavy ones, but lifting those weights and pushing yourself, you are so present. And especially if you've got some music on and you're just really, there in that zone, focusing on what you're doing. I think it's just, amazing in loads of ways. So yeah, muddy obstacle courses and things like that haven't been for me so far. I've tried a few fun type events, especially when I used to work at Nike. We did some brilliant different activities, but for me, I was never a natural sports enthusiast or fitness person, certainly as a child. And so it's something I've had to evolve and, like you say, find what fits me for who I am.
Yeah, I think it's so important to find what works. One of the things I'm working with people on at the moment is ice baths. I love a bit of hacking your nervous system so that you can get to a great place quick. And like, it's so interesting because some people are like, Charlotte, there's no way I can go in the cold. Give me the sauna. I'm like, okay, so it's okay. Your biohacking is we're going to use the sauna. That's fine. My aim is stillness. My aim is dropping out the head, whether you go cold or hot. That's the aim of that actual activity. But it's just great to hear people go, oh no, I can't do it. And then before you know it, I've got them in the cold shower and they're all good.
Oh, fantastic. So you've given loads of inspiration and tips, but to wrap us up, I'd love to ask for 3 simple steps someone can think about taking to help build habits so that they can create that energy and wake up feeling like they're ready to take the day.
So the first thing I recommend is as soon as you wake up, give yourself 5 minutes before you even get out of bed. So lie or sit. Some people prefer to sit up. In the space of appreciation. Appreciation is the absolute mirror to receiving. So appreciation of that you've got your health, that you're here for another day, that you've got a warmth around you, you can go and get yourself a drink. Real simple appreciation. When you start the day in that slightly not quite fully alert state when you first wake up, it absolutely sets the tone for the day. So that's the first thing I'll say. See if you can do 2 minutes, start with 30 seconds. Just see if you can do it without just, either rolling over or doing something different. Then I would talk about really understanding this halfway through the day. So after you've had lunch, I say to people, usually anchor it in after your lunch. If you're at work, can you do it in your lunch break? Give yourself 5 minutes. How are you feeling? What's happening? What's draining you is always the question. What's draining you? Because I'm all about raising the vibration of people and aligning themselves to the true self. But you only ever get to that place once you know what's draining, because once you can release that, then you can start to rise yourself into a different place and start to understand, but you're never going to get to where you really want to get to if you've got weight around you, whatever that is. And then the exercise that I say to people in the evening that they can do either at the end of their working day before they go into the evening at home or something, or they can do when they're in bed before they go to sleep, is my 3-2-1 exercise. So that is literally just have your journal by your side. 3 moments of appreciation from the day. So what were 3 things that really went well that you just loved, that you appreciated? It could be a conversation. It could be how you handled yourself. It could be an awareness piece. 2 moments of reflection. We always want to assess what's happened to be able to think, oh, do you know what? I'm not going to carry it back tomorrow. Do you know what? This annoyed me and I'm not going to do that tomorrow. If that happens again, I'm going to react differently. if we never create space to reflect, then we're never going to make those changes. And then one is one moment of joy. What was something that happened today where you were like, do you know what? I love it. Like my one moment of joy is going to be speaking with you because I've just really enjoyed it. And it can be anything. The one moment of joy, what happens is you start to really think, do you know what? At first, I might have thought today was really like a bit of a write-off day. But you know what? There was this one thing that happened that I can hold on to. And after my 20 years in mental health, I know for some people, this one thing is massive. It may feel so small to them, but as it builds and creates momentum, you realise that actually, hey, do you know what? I've got 5 moments of joy. And do you know what? I've got more. And I'm going to create and share some of my joy. And it allows you to really feel alive, which is something that I just really promote people. So they're the 3 things that I wanted to share.
Oh, amazing. I love those. And I need and want to start journaling on a night. It's something that I know will really help me with where I am in my health journey. So I think I can take those tips on board as well for the 3, 2, 1 at the end of the day. So amazing. Thank you, Charlotte. So if someone wants to connect with you, because I'm sure people listening are like, Charlotte's brought me joy today, where can they find out more and follow you?
So they can follow me on Instagram. It's probably the place that I'm more active. I am Charlotte Carter on Instagram, where I share kind of like what's going on in my world. If people want to know a little bit more about how to work with me, the programs that I have, they're all on my website, which is www.idaretoleap.com. So if you're brave enough to leap, then come and take a look and feel free to message me either on email or on Instagram.
Brilliant. And you've got a free audio on the website page as well. You can scroll down to the bottom and sign up for that to help have this moment of space and start to maybe get some of these cogs turning over. So thank you so much for your time and energy. Charlotte, it's been really great and it's definitely brought joy to my day as well. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I've loved sharing time with you.
You're welcome. Thanks, Charlotte.